Hey. This is going to be a hell of an episode. Don't judge me. We just put the Christmas tree up. Had a great time with the kids. Me and my wife, reflecting on the beautiful family we've created as the little ones ran around and helped put the ornaments up on the tree, and we put the star at the top, and we plugged it in for the first time. And yet, look, I get it. Christmas is 10 days away. All that means is that bitch ain't coming down until late January, early February. I'm going to get my time in, okay? But also, it's Friday night. Look what I've got. That's right. Late night Louie. And I'm lit already. I'm about 3-4 glasses in. So you know what that means. You're in for a hell of a show. So saddle up. It's going to be one of those type of nights. You know what it is. You're locked in to the Louie T Network podcast that starts now. The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description. Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the 381st installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Whew. Look into my eyes. You can tell I'm lit. It's late night Louie. So y'all know what it is. Got a number of topics that we're going to get to tonight. Obviously, we were live for the massacre last night. 63-21, Raiders demolishing the Los Angeles Chargers. And I pleaded with the Chargers to not fire Brandon Staley. Chargers fans like, hey, Louie T, shut the hell up. You don't know nothing about this business over here. We got this. He got to go. And they took care of business. So we definitely going to talk about that. Tom Telesco was also shown the door and given his walking papers. Same with the running backs coach, or the run game coordinator. And so we'll get to all of that here in a little bit. But it's going to be one of those nights. We're just going to be talking about some of everything, man. And y'all know how this goes. I want to start the show by asking y'all a question. I don't know if y'all know this, but Eddie Murphy is back, like back. And I don't know if he actually went anywhere. It feels like he went somewhere. And now he's back. And I guess Netflix has made it a safe space for Eddie to do his thing and be creative and do it on his terms. And when you're in Hollywood and you're having to go through a major production studio, it's a little different. When you're going through Netflix, I think you have more creative control. You can do things you want to do, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, I think it started with Dolomite. My Name is Dolomite. For anybody who hasn't seen that movie, it is a fantastic watch. I recommend it. And I think I did that like 4 years ago when it came out. I recommended it to you guys. And ever since then, I think that was the resurgence of Eddie Murphy. Why am I talking about Eddie Murphy right now? Oh, I know why. Okay. I was about to say, why am I talking about Eddie Murphy? That's the kind of night it's going to be. This me starting the show off this way lets you know this is the type of night it's going to be. So ever since that movie, feel like Eddie's been back. And we got Coming to America 2 and a slew of other movies. He just put out the Candy Cane Lane movie with Tracy Ellis Ross. I don't know if I'm going to watch that one. I think I might pass on that one. But the reason I brought Eddie up is, Eddie's doing his thing and he's all over the place. Did you see the preview for the new Beverly Hills Cop movie? I don't know how to feel about this, guys. I like my classics, and sometimes you just need to leave stuff alone. Like, I was very hesitant to go all in on the Coming to America 2 because I'm like, bro, that's my favorite movie of all time. Coming to America, the original from 1988, is my favorite movie of all time. And I'm like, bro, we've gone, 30 some odd years. We really need to do this? Some of the people that were original characters aren't here anymore. Do we need to rehash this? Do we need to do this? It was okay. I could have done without it. I think we've gone through this already. I had a whole, probably 15, 20-minute spiel on a podcast right after I had watched it. I'm good. I think we all acknowledged that it was a movie that you watch once and you didn't need to watch it again. I've never had an itch to watch Coming to America 2 again. You see it once and, oh, okay, I saw it. I checked it off the list. I'm good. I don't need to go back. So now there's this Beverly Hills Cop movie that's coming out. And my wife sent it to me. And she said, hey, did you see the new Beverly Hills Cop movie? It's called Axel F. I'm like, Eddie Murphy? Beverly Hills Cop? She's like, yeah, I sent it to you. I'm like, no, I didn't. Really? She's like, it's on Netflix. I think it's going to be good. So now I had to go check it out and see what it looks like. So I went and I watched the preview, and it didn't move me. It didn't look terrible. Kind of how I felt about Coming to America too. Like, doesn't look horrible, but it doesn't look like something that I'm going to be like head over heels about. I think I'm going to have the same energy for it that I had for Coming to America 2, which was I'll watch it once just to say I watched it. Excuse me. I watched it. And then I don't think I'll need to watch it again. You know how many times I've watched Beverly Hills Cops 1 and 2? Now 3, I think I might have watched Beverly Hills Cop 4 once. That's it. They went too far with that one. Sort of like how I feel about Rush Hour. I heard that they're in the works right now making a Rush Hour 4, and I'm like, yeah, I think I was done at 3. I don't think I need another one. I think you're doing a little bit too much now. I don't think we need another Rush Hour. But they're going to do it because they know everybody, dummies like me, are going to watch. And all they need you to do is watch once. They don't give a shit about rewatch value. Just need you to watch it once, my guy. And I'm going to watch it once. And they know it. And that's why they're going to put the shit out. We'll see how it turns out. When you wait this long to go back to a classic, I just don't know if you can recapture the magic that was once there. A lot of the characters are much older now, if they're even still alive. I had to ask my wife, are they even still alive? And I think most of them are. Detective Bogomil is dead, but he probably is in real life, he's probably dead. But he died in the movie. Like, I think he died in Beverly Hills Cop 2. So, like, it's not a big deal, right? I got a kick out of the dude from Beverly Hills Cop 1, who wasn't in 2 or 3, I don't believe. My memory serves me correct. But the guy, Ahmel. He showed up in this Axel F movie in the preview, and I always got a kick out of him in the first one because he couldn't get his name right. I don't know what it is about me and people's names and not getting them right and why that's funny to me. My favorite cartoon is Heathcliff. And I've told you this story before, so bear with me if you've already heard this. But one of my favorite Heathcliff episodes was called The Meat Father, right? It was the Heath Father, rather. So Heathcliff, dressed up as this mob boss because this new cat boss came into town and was taking over all of Heathcliff's favorite spots and kind of running the show, right? All the little spots he used to like to go get his little fish and stuff from. The Fat Cat was what his name was. He came in and he took over, right? And he was sending out his little henchmen to make sure that you had to pay for everything. And so Heathcliff got fed up, and he dressed up and he named himself the Heath Father, and he had on a little suit. And he went and he had a meeting with the Fat Cat, and the Fat Cat couldn't get his name right. He called him Meathcliff, Beefcliff, Leafcliff, everything except Heathcliff, right? And it made Heathcliff so mad that he couldn't get his name right. Even after he busted him and got him sent away, he was like, I can't believe it. It was Beefcliff. It was Meatcliff. It was Leafcliff all along. And you should have seen Heathcliff's face. He was so pissed. Even as he's being driven away in a animal control vehicle, him not getting his name right was still getting under me Heathcliff's skin. I don't know why that made me laugh uncontrollably as a kid, but it did. And I think that had an impact on me as to why I get a kick out of people messing other people's names up when it's done in a tactful, tasteful manner. So when the guy on Beverly Hills Cop calls Axel Achwell, I get a kick out of that every single time. Anyway, I don't know if the movie's going to be good or not, but I'm going to give it a run. Obviously, I'm going to give it a spin. But I don't need Beverly Hills Cop 5, which is what this will be, even though it's called Axel F. I don't need Beverly Hills Cop 5. They got to have that one song. They got to have 2 songs in that movie. They're going to have doom 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 doom. Got to have that song. I would like them to have that one song. I don't think they're going to have that one because I don't think that was even in the second one. Anyway, I digress. I'm off on a tangent. I just had to ask you guys, had you seen the Beverly Hills Cop 5 or Axel F preview? I don't know how I feel about that, but it is what it is. Anyway, look, you can start lining up whatever you want to talk about. Hashtag LouieTeeNetwork or LouieTeeLive, excuse me. Hashtag LouieTeeLive. Y'all know the routine. We'll get to social media maneuvers. Y'all know I'm a midnight marauder. You want to make sure your comment is read. Super chats are the way to do that. We'll get to that. a little bit later on. But we got to start the show off, as we always do, with a gym dropping session. So let's do that real quick. Let me drop this gym on your melon. Open your mind. Let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louie T-double-E. Let me open you up. Get you thinking a little bit. So obviously, the hot topic of discussion today was the firing of one Brandon Staley and GM Tom Telesco in Los Angeles with the Chargers. And most people thought it was coming. There were a lot of jokes being aimed last night. Dick Sherman said, hey, he needs to be fired at halftime. I think there were some Chargers fans that agreed with that. They lose the game 63-21. They were down 42-0 at halftime. It was once 49-0 in the game. This is a Raiders team that was shut out the week before and hadn't scored a touchdown in 7 straight quarters. And they absolutely explode for 6 first-half touchdowns. And we're up at one point by almost 50 points in the game. So, obviously, it was a rough go of it. And Staley knew. He knew at the press conference last night. When they asked him, will he be here tomorrow? I don't know if I'm going to be here tomorrow. And he said, should you? Yes, I should. But I don't know if I'm going to still have a job. Well, he doesn't. He was relieved of his duties, and so was GM Tom Telesco. I think it was time for both of them to go. And we had already talked about the likelihood that both of those guys would be relieved of their duties this year, and that the Chargers would be looking to fill those positions this offseason. And we're going to talk about that because I think that's more what I want to get to during this gym dropping session, is ranking the vacancies this offseason. And we'll get to that here in a second. But I do want to spend a few minutes on this Chargers situation. It's unfortunate it turned out the way that it did. I just think back to 2 off seasons ago when the Chargers were all in. And I don't know if y'all remember, but they traded for Khalil Mack. They traded for, they signed J.C. Jackson. This might have been, I think it was 2 off seasons ago. Not this past offseason, but the offseason before that. And we were saying, oh, my God, they're going after it, right? It might have been, I think I got it right. It wasn't this past offseason, but the offseason before it, because this is not Khalil Mack's first year with the Chargers. This is his second year, if I'm not mistaken, with the Chargers. Could be his third year. I could be way off base. But I feel like him and J.C. Jackson came in the same offseason because it felt like the Chargers were going for it. You know, in this league, teams don't go for it very often. We saw what the Rams did when they won the Super Bowl. They went for it. That shit costs. When you go for it, you better get it. Because if you don't, like, it's a big effing deal. Like when the Ravens went for it in 2012 and they got it, great. But then, no one ever really talks about the aftermath of going for it, right? They went for it in 2012. They got it. They bet on, and Joe Flacco bet on himself. He won. 11 touchdowns, no interceptions. They paid Flacco, and 11 of the 22 starters from the year prior when they won the Super Bowl were no longer there, including Ray Lewis, who retired. And they weren't the same team, clearly, obviously. And Flacco wasn't the same quarterback. And they never even got remotely close to getting back to the Super Bowl as with Joe Flacco as their quarterback. And that prompted them to then draft Lamar Jackson in 18? I was going to put him in the 17 draft with Mahomes, but I don't think he was in that draft. Or was he? No, he was in the 18 draft with Baker Mayfield and all of those guys. He was the last pick of the first round in the 18 draft. Mahomes went in the 17 draft with Watson and Mitchell Trubisky. So, yeah, I had it right. And so when you go for it, you better get it. And the Rams went for it. They traded for Von Miller. They traded for Jalen Ramsey. They traded for Matthew Stafford. And that was the final piece of the puzzle, right? Trading for Stafford. Now, I think they traded for Von Miller that season, in season. And that ultimately was the final piece, right? Odell Beckham Jr., they signed him. Like, they did everything they could to win a Super Bowl. And they said, to hell with draft picks, to hell with the future. The future is now. That's what Sean McVay said. Remember, that was his saying. The future is now. To hell with all of that other shit. Trying to win now. And they did. But it cost them. And it's a steep price. When you start giving away first and second round draft picks, it's a steep price to pay to win. But winning is the ultimate goal. But they won. It felt like the Chargers went for it. Felt like they said, we got ourselves one here in Justin Herbert. Keenan Allen is still playing at a high level. Mike Williams looks like a real stud number 2. Like, let's go for it. We got it. Let's go for it. And they did. They pressed the button. And they traded for Khalil Mack. And they signed J.C. Jackson. And they made all of these moves. And it felt like they were going for it. It felt like they were arming themselves to go up against the big bad Chiefs. And it never materialized. J.C. Jackson was an absolute abject disaster, injury prone, never really played, meaningful snaps for the Chiefs, or the Chargers. And they ultimately trade him back to New England, right? Khalil Mack's been excellent for them. Absolutely fantastic. The problem with him is they're paying him a lot of money. A boatload of money, and they're probably not going to be able to afford him. They got to free up some cap space. He's got a massive number. Bosa can't stay healthy to save his life. Derwin James is being played out of position. Kenneth Walker didn't become the player that they thought he was going to be, Kenneth Murray didn't become the player that they thought he was going to be. Mike Williams got injured for the season. Josh Palmer had a banged-up year this year. He emerged last year because of the injuries to both Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. Allen has had a stellar year this year, but we could do this all day long about, it seems like these guys tag each other in and out. They're never all healthy at the same time. And so for whatever reason, some of the reasons that I've already named, some deficiencies along the offensive line, et cetera, even their stud first-round tackle, Rashawn Slater, got injured, right, at one point last year. So they just can't get right, seems like. And the Chargers are always among the worst in terms of injuries, players lost to injuries and games lost to injury and et cetera. They're always among the worst in the NFL. And then there's Brandon Staley. Tom Telesco is interesting because Chargers fans will tell you he's nothing more than a mere puppet, But I actually thought that they did a good job of building this roster into one that could compete if it were healthy. It's just never healthy. But then there's Brandon Staley. And you remember about, I think it was around his first season, he comes in, and this dude is super aggressive. It reminded me so much of Doug Peterson's first year in Philadelphia, if you recall. I don't think enough people give Doug Peterson credit for being one of the first real innovators of analytics and going for it on fourth down. He was the one that really brought that to the NFL. Because when he came in, I think his first year was 2016 as the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles with a rookie Carson Wentz. And if you recall, Wentz wasn't supposed to start the season. It was supposed to be Sam Bradford. Teddy Bridgewater snaps his knee in half. The Vikings get desperate. They trade for Sam Bradford. Wentz is supposed to be QB3. They got Chase Daniel backing up Sam Bradford. They say, to hell with that, Chase. You remain at 2. Carson, get in there. You're the number 1 quarterback now as a rookie. The rest is history. And that first year with Wentz as the starter, they were going for it on 4th down, like way too much. It made our heads explode as fans watching it. Like, what is he doing? Because, it's funny now looking back on how the NFL used to be. There, once upon a time, it didn't matter how close you were to picking up a first down. If you didn't get it on 3rd down, you just punted. No ifs, ands, or buts. If you weren't in field goal range, you just punted the ball. You didn't even ask questions. You have to be like literally 6 inches away, and it's got to be like quarterback sneak status for you to go for it. Like, just go back to 2015. You don't have to go back very far. Just go back 8 years. Probably could go back to 16 with Doug Peterson doing it, because we were very critical of Doug Peterson his first year as a head coach in the league, going for it all the time. I remember being very critical. Like, this guy is an idiot. He's gonna be fired in 2 years because he's too aggressive. He's going for it on 4th down all the time. And they lost a lot of games because he was over aggressive, overzealous with his 4th down attempts. And they weren't converting them that first year. And they lost games because of it. And I remember not only myself, but members of the media and people were just crushing him, crucifying him. And, back in those days, you didn't go for it on 4th down. Either you were in field goal range or you punted. It could be 4th and 1. We just missed it by a yard. All right, punt team, get out there. Obviously, that's not the case anymore. It's a case-by-case basis, but teams are super aggressive. And they even give you the statistics on what the analytics says you should do in that situation. Like, if you're watching Monday Night Football, they're like, analytics says you go for it up to 4 yards here. Like, that's dumb. If you're watching the same game in the eyeball test, you can't go for it on 4th and 3 if your offense is struggling. But hey, the analytics don't take that stuff into consideration. They're just telling you what the probability is that you're going to convert and what it means for the game overall. Anyway, Brandon Staley's first year felt like Doug Peterson's first year. Man, was he aggressive. He came out swinging. And the beauty of what he did was he actually had an offense with Justin Herbert that was able to convert. So it made him look like a mad scientist and an evil genius. But then he took it too far and it would backfire, and you would go, this guy is doing the Doug Peterson thing. And it got to the point where Chargers fans gave him a nickname, and it was like Brass Tacks Brandon or some bullshit like that, Big Balls Brandon or some shit like that, because he would go for it. And he got to the point where he was so crazy he would go for it at his own like 27-yard line, 4th and 2 from his own. Like, bro, wait a minute. What are you doing right now? And it got to the point where it's like, yo, you really going too far with it now. But that was his thing. But then over time, you fail on enough of those and it costs you again. I remember very vividly, there was a Chiefs game at the end of the season. I want to say it might have even just been last year. It could have been the year before that. He was so aggressive in the game and he didn't get it. And the Chiefs scored a touchdown. And, it proved to be one of the bigger decisions in the game. And people crucified him for it. And Chargers fans are saying, like, this is who he is. This is who he's been. It is what it is. You take it with a grain of salt. People weren't trying to hear that. And after a while, it got to the point where you go, okay, bro, you got to tone this shit down a bit. But everything we were talking about in his early, coaching stint was about offense and his decision making and in-game strategy. It wasn't that this defense sucked ass, because he was holding down his fort as a defensive-minded coach. Remember, when he was the defensive coordinator of the Rams for that 1 year, I want to say it was the 2019 season, and he got the job in 2020. Is what I want to say. He could have gotten the job in 2021. Herbert might have been there for 1 year, and then he took over. But whatever the case may be, he was known as a defensive genius. A lot of people viewed him as the defensive version of Sean McVay. McVay even said, hey, y'all need to stop talking about this man. Y'all going to get him a job. I don't want him to leave. He gets the job in LA with the Chargers, and everything's going smooth the first couple of years defensively, and then, or maybe the first year, and then the bottom drops out of that shit. And it culminated in the defense being so bad this year that he was questioned at the podium, and he goes apeshit. He goes ballistic on a reporter who asked him, are you going to continue to call the plays? And he's like, look, I call the plays. I'm the play caller defensively. And he does the whole wagging the finger bit and kind of reads that reporter his rights, even if they're faulty rights. And it brought a lot of heat to him. And you could tell, and I always tell y'all this, it's hard watching a coach that's a lame duck coach, dead man walking. You see it, when you see it, you smell it a mile away, and you're like, bro, it's hard to watch. These press conferences get tougher and tougher when you know that dude is good as fired. He's done. You know it. Like, I haven't watched a Ron Rivera press conference since probably late to mid-November. No. When was the Giants game? The Giants game was the week before Thanksgiving. So, yeah, it was mid-November. Because the next game was the Cowboys game. And I didn't even bother to watch his press conference after the second Giants game. And Thanksgiving, I think, was the 23rd this year, if I'm not mistaken. 23rd. So I haven't watched a Ron Rivera press conference since not even the 19th. You got to probably go back to like the Thursday of that week. So the 16th of November is the last time I watched the Ron Rivera press conference. No, because he doesn't talk on Thursdays. So it was either the 20th, that Friday, or it was that Wednesday. Right? So it was either the 18th or the 20th. Either way, the 15th or the 17th. Because Thanksgiving was the 23rd, and it was that Thursday before would be the 16th. So it was either the 15th or the 17th of November. Because I've been here enough. As a fan of a team that sucks and changes coaches very often, I know what a lame duck coach looks, smells, and sounds like. And I just don't want any part of it because it's hard to watch. And I imagine that Brandon Staley's pressers were probably really tough to watch down the stretch. Painful even. I will give him credit. When they were down 42-0, he stopped by Kaylee Hartung, which is the sideline reporter for Amazon Prime on those Thursday night games. And he actually gave her a good 30 to 45 seconds. Trust me, if I'm getting my ass beat and my brains bashed in 42-0, I ain't talking to Nathan. Nobody. You liable to get cussed out right now. You just best let me just get my little slow jog to the locker room and leave me be. See if you catch me on the backside of that halftime break. Maybe I feel a little bit better after I talk to my team. But going in, down 6 touchdowns, Wait, was it 6 touchdowns? Yeah, it was 6 touchdowns. And he was like, yeah, we're a little disappointed in how we started out the game. But, you know, I think he hit us with the, still another half. I don't remember what he said. I know he ain't say still another half to play. But, there was the time. It was that time at band camp. You remember the time the Indianapolis Colts blew that lead against the Vikings. So anything's possible. What did KG say? Anything is possible. Right? Anyway. Enough about the Chargers. I don't even know what the hell I was just talking about. I think I was talking about the Chargers. I think I was talking about Brandon Staley, but I might not have been. He deserved to be fired. Tom Telesco deserved to be fired. Now let's talk about the vacancies this offseason. So, and I want to rank them, and I want you to rank them. So right now, currently, we've got 4 actual vacancies. The charge, and let me just say this before we get to the vacancies. I know, I'm sorry. The Chargers fired Brandon Staley as their head coach and promoted outside linebackers coach Giff Smith to interim head coach. Does this sound familiar to you? The Raiders fired Josh McDaniels and promoted inside linebackers coach Antonio Pierce. And we see what's happened with them. He looks like a head coach, sounds like a head coach, feels like head coach material in Las Vegas. I'm not saying that the Chargers are out here jocking. I'm not saying that they're out here clocking. I'm just saying, who the hell is Giff Smith? Of all the coaches you got on the staff, Giff Smith, he's not the linebackers coach. So he doesn't coach the entire, he's the outside linebackers coach. And he's the guy you promote to interim head coach. Not the offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, who we think has a chance to be a head coach in this league someday. Clearly, it's not right now. Not him. Nah. Not your defensive coordinator. Not that you really had one. Brandon Staley was calling the plays, but I digress. Your outside linebacker coach, Giff Smith. Maybe it's Jeff. I don't know. Okay. Great. Hope that works out for you. I advocated for him to not be fired because what is it going to do? To me, when you fire a coach this late in the season, it's literally appeasing the fan base. The fans have had enough. They want change. They want blood. They want a head on a stick. You have to give it to them, right? Actually, you don't have to give it to them. You could take notes from the Washington Commanders owner, Josh Harris. He could have fired Ronald Rivera multiple times this season if he wanted to. Could have fired him after the Week 5 debacle against the Bears. That's too early to fire a coach. At that point, we were what? 2-3 on the season. You can't fire him after that. But it was bad. Could have fired him after the first game against the Giants in Week 7. Giants were a 1-win team, and they were awful. And they hadn't scored in the first half of a game. And there was a lot of things that they hadn't done, and they did them for the first time that year against us in Week 7. Hadn't scored a touchdown at home all season long. Well, all of that was put to rest in Week 7 against Washington. Could have fired him after that game. He scored 7 points and he lost 14-7 to a lowly 1-win Giants football team. Could have fired him after the second Giants game in Week 11. That was a shit show. Hell, when we got to Tommy DeVito, he looked like Danny DeVito, and he didn't even look like an NFL quarterback. Now he's doing this shit, and his agent is out here getting all kinds of FaceTime, and it's turned into DeVito mania, is what they're calling it. And they're one game out of the playoffs. We started that shit. We did that. Could have fired him after that game. We haven't won a home game since week 1. Off the strength of that, his ass should be fired. But he hasn't been fired. We go to Thanksgiving and we lose 45-10. Dak and company are putting turkey legs in the Thanksgiving bell. They're throwing LeBron James, Dwayne Wade alley-oops. It shit's bad. 2 weeks in a row. This is how you know your shit stinks. I mean, it's funky. That's nasty. This is how you know your shit stinks. 2 weeks in a row, teams were planning their celebrations in the end zone against you. For Dallas to have a turkey leg already inside the Salvation Army bell would mean that they had to think about it prior to the game and say, hey, we're getting into the end zone. You think they would have done that if they were playing the Eagles? No chance. No chance. They knew they were playing us and they expected to kick our ass, and they put the damn turkey leg in the damn bell. They had time to think about that shit. Maybe the alley-oop was spontaneous. Maybe they planned to do that too. Who knows? The next week, we all saw it on Hard Knocks. They sat at practice. Instead of game planning on how they were going to attack the Commanders' defense, they're thinking about how they're going to align for a roller coaster ride in the end zone and how they're going to construct it. You know, who's going to be the conductor? Who's going to be the one that says, hands up, to the left, to the right? Cha-cha now, y'all. Turn it out. Shit's bad. He didn't get fired after that game. Both games resulted in 45-point performances by the opposition. He didn't get fired after either one of those games. Could have been. Sometimes patience is a virtue. What are you going to gain by firing your head coach with 3 games left, 4 games left? What are you going to gain with 4 games left? All you're gaining is that the fan base feels like vindicated because that guy's fired now. Okay, cool. That's great. And again, they're paying customers. You don't want to piss them off. I get it. But is Jeff Smith, however you say his name, is he the answer? Probably not. Are they going to play better with Easton Stick on Saturday night against the Bills? Maybe they will. They can't play any worse. They're not going to give up 63 points again. I assure you of that. What are you really gaining by firing? Now, the GM makes sense. I mean, if you can go out here and start to do your search for your new GM, the earlier the better. But anyway, I digress. So, Commanders, Raiders, Chargers, and Panthers all have vacancies right now. 4 teams. The Commanders, Raiders, and Chargers all have GM vacancies accompanying their head coaching vacancies as well. See what the Panthers do. I don't think they're going to fire their GM, but they could. The Patriots are going to fire Bill Belichick. That feels like a done deal at season's end. We could talk about semantics and whether Belichick decides he's done or they decide. Belichick's not going to retire and he's not going to quit because he wants his money. He's under a long-term contract, and if somebody's desperate enough to trade for Belichick, great. The Patriots get something out of it, but if not, he's like, y'all gonna pay me my money. Y'all gotta fire me. I ain't leaving. Belichick's gone. So that's 5 openings right there. Now the question is, do we get any more openings? So just some that were in play just 3 weeks ago that are no longer in play, according to reports. Now, obviously, we still got 4 games left. Everything's subject to change. However, Mike Vrabel was reportedly on the hot seat in Tennessee. They've already said we're not firing Mike Vrabel. I think it's the right move. Mike Tomlin, after the last 2 weeks with the losses to Arizona and New England, respectively, at home, was a lot of things were being said about him. Rumors started to swirl. Steelers have come out and put that fire out very quickly. He ain't going nowhere. We're not getting rid of him. Arthur Smith has had his ups and downs this year. They're still tied for first place in their division at 6-7 with the Saints and the Buccaneers. And so, barring a late season collapse, is how it was worded and phrased, he's going to be back as the head coach next year in Atlanta. So, I don't think we're going to have as many openings as we could have had. Again, still a lot of football left to be played. But the Bears have turned things around. Remember, Matt Eberflus hadn't won a game in like a year and a half before that Thursday night game against Washington. So he was on the chopping block. But since then, they've won, I think, 5 out of their last 8 games, if I'm not mistaken. Something to that effect. And now they sit at 5-8 as we speak. And they're right in the mix in terms of being hyper competitive. They're not in the mix for a playoff spot per se, but I mean, they're 5-8, and you got a bunch of 6-7 teams vying for a playoff spot in the NFC. So I'd say they're right in the mix with the Giants, who are also 5-8, and they're 1 game back. So is he getting fired? I don't think he is. But you put an asterisk next to their name. The Falcons, I've already said Arthur Smith isn't getting fired, but, you know, if they were to lose 3 out of their final 4 and they missed the playoffs, he could be fired. Same with Todd Bowles in Tampa Bay. I don't think he's going to get fired. I think he's actually done a really good job given the pieces that he was provided this offseason, but I've seen stranger things happen. So right now, there are 5 vacancies that we know about. 4 in particular, and then the 5th will be New England when they finally move on from Bill Belichick. So right now, I want to rank those head coaching, not GM jobs, head coaching jobs. Now, a GM position is a lot different than a head coaching position because when you're a GM, you take a look at the draft capital, you take a look at the salary cap, take a look at the roster. There's so many things that you take into consideration as you make a decision. Head coach, the biggest thing is, A, do I have a little bit of talent and what my quarterback situation look like? Of these 5 situations, I think the Chargers have the best quarterback situation. Now, again, their financials is in the toilet. They got some work to do from a salary cap standpoint. And that can handicap you if you're not careful. And they also have an ownership situation that is less than ideal. Not the best relationship when you're talking about the Spanos family. So that's something else to consider when you're talking about the Chargers. But if you're just talking about quarterback and some weapons to get the ball to those players, I don't know if you can beat the Chargers situation. I'd probably put that at the top of the list. After that, I think I go with the Commanders because I think their quarterback situation, whether they draft one or they roll with Sam Howell, I think they feel good about their quarterback situation either way. Raiders are interesting because Aiden O'Connell threw 4 touchdown passes last night, no interceptions, and he's had his moments, but he's also looked really funky. They had a game the week prior where they didn't score a single point, and he was a part of that, huge part of that. So what do? I don't know. I had the answers, I'd tell you. So that's something to consider. Raiders are also interested because I think Antonio Pierce is going to get that job. I don't even view that as a head coaching vacancy anymore. I think he's already locked that thing up personally. But again, we'll see. And then you get to the Panthers and the Patriots. Those are the two remaining teams. And boy, I would probably put the Patriots ahead of the Panthers right now because the Panthers don't have a first-round pick, and the Patriots do. And the Panthers don't necessarily love their first-round quarterback right now. If you're the Patriots, you're going to get an opportunity to select one, and you get to pretty much pick whichever one you like outside of Caleb Williams unless you trade up to number 1. So it's a good place to be in. So we'll see. But if I had to rank the head coaching vacancies right now, I'd put Carolina at 1, Commanders at 2, Raiders at 3, Patriots at 4, and the Panthers at 5. Ouch. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to social media maneuvers, man. I'm a midday marauder, or in this case, I'm a midnight marauder. Let's get to whatever the hell y'all want to talk about. Y'all better come with the heat, too. I think I'm going to give y'all about 25, 30 minutes, and then we're going to get to my money picks of the week. So let's see what y'all talking about. Let's jump in here. Cam G says, whose This Christmas song is better, Donny Hathaway or Chris Brown? Is that a real question? Come on, Cam G. Cam, let me ask you a question. How old are you? Because this will answer my question right now. I know how old you are. Well, I don't know how old you are. I think I know you're a young boy. Because if you were OG, you wouldn't even ask me that question. You wouldn't even ask me that. You wouldn't even fix your lips to even ask me that question. I'm going to put you under the age of 30 just because you asked me that. I'm going to put you at 24 years old, Cam. How old are you? Just you don't got to super chat me. Just leave it in the comment section. I'm curious now. I just answered your question without answering your question. So you know which version is better. Come on, man. Yeah, right. And I think we've had this conversation before already. Anyway. Cam G says, me personally, Lou, I would draft Bowers over MHJ if we don't take a tackle. Due to if we get Ben Johnson as our head coach, where athletic tight ends are key in his scheme. They're key in the scheme, but remember, you don't have to draft a top 5, top 10 tight end to get an athletically gifted tight end that can win and do big things. Remember, the best tight ends in the NFL right now weren't top 10 picks. TJ Hawkinson is probably the highest drafted tight end right now that's really good in the league. George Kittle wasn't a first-round pick. He was a second-round pick. Travis Kelce wasn't a first-round pick. He wasn't a second-round pick. He was a third-round pick. Mark Andrews wasn't a first-round pick. He wasn't a second-round pick. He was a third-round pick. I keep going with these tight ends. The tight end that they have in Detroit right now, Sam Laporta, second-round pick. Like, you don't have to – if you know what you're looking for and you can identify talent, you don't have to spend a top 7 to 10 to even 15 pick on a tight end. You can get these guys anywhere. Just know what you're looking for. He says, yeah, okay, so we read the rest of that. But I agree with you. If you're getting Ben Johnson, you're going to need a athletically gifted tight end. Hell, they could just roll with what's our boy name from last year who got hurt in camp at the tight end? Armani Rogers. You can just go with Armani Rogers, I guess, in that situation. Who knows? Niners fan writes, Lou, our backup running back you were talking about that night. Yes, Mason. That's who I was trying to think of. McCaffrey ripped off like a 73-yard run on the first play, and Mason came in and cleaned it up and got the touchdown. Elijah Mitchell can't stay healthy anymore, but Kyle still likes him, so Mason isn't getting many reps. Elijah Mitchell is a beast, but like you said, he just can't stay healthy. So Mason has been the one getting the bulk of the mop-up carries when McCaffrey isn't in there. And I think I gave you your credit already for the McCaffrey take you had early in the season when you said they're playing him in garbage time far too much. I don't know if you were there when I said it, but I'm telling you again, you were right. That game against Seattle, there's less than 3 minutes to go in the game, and he's still in the game getting carries. And I'm like, what are we doing right now? Get him out of there. And they hurt me because literally on the next snap, they got McCaffrey out and they put in the backup running back, Jordan Mason. But too little, too late. The hell are we doing here? I like Elijah Mitchell too. I understand why Kyle is reluctant to give up on him. If he's healthy, he's a damn good back, but he just can't stay healthy to save his life. Cam G writes, did you know people actually consider Friday 3 a Christmas movie? Time out. Did you just call Friday After Next Friday 3? Cam G, wait a minute. What are we doing right now, Cam? Who are you anyway? We got to have a conversation. Nobody calls Fridays by their numbers. Nobody says Friday 1, Friday 2, Friday 3. It's Friday, next Friday, Friday after next. Okay. Nobody calls them Friday 1, 2, and 3. Cam, bro, what are we doing? Come on now. I need you to get your shit together. Okay, that's been handled. Okay, we're talking about Friday after next. The question isn't people considering it a Christmas movie. The question is, who doesn't consider it a Christmas movie? Nobody said you're supposed to gather around the fireplace and watch it together as a family. It's not Home Alone, okay? But the whole movie is centered around Christmas. The beginning of the movie is them getting robbed at their house by a fake Santa Claus, getting beaten. Day gets beaten with a Christmas tree. Yeah, it's a Christmas movie. Like, what do you mean? People consider it's a Christmas movie. What are you talking about? Yes, it's a Christmas movie. They play the Temptation song in there like 15 times. What are you talking about? It's a Christmas movie. Absolutely. Anyway, you got me raising my voice. Matthew, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, thank you, LT. Merry Christmas. Let's draft O-line. Shout out to my guy, Matthew. Merry Christmas to you and yours as well. Let's draft the O-line. I'm right there with you. I'll watch the film, though, because a lot of people keep saying, hey, man, I'm telling you, you need to watch so-and-so, such and such. People love doing that. So I'll sink my teeth into this draft and see what's what. And I'll tell you if I feel good about these tackles and should one of them become a Washington Commander if we, let's say, end up with the number 4 pick overall, where we sit right now. We'll see. You know, a lot of football left. Mike Jink, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Mike Jink writes, Friday 3 is madness. Friday 3 is absolutely madness. Like, who does that? I think that might be like one of the first times I've ever heard Friday After Next called Friday 3. I got questions, Cam. Like, seriously, like, we need to talk. I got questions, bro. He says, let me get a Go Birds, man. Not for me. You just said it. You know, You can maybe hit up Russell Wilson and he could, you know, go Hawks or something, but not me. But Friday 3 is definitely, that's some nasty work right there, Mike Jink. Me and Cam got to have a conversation. I'm not looking to embarrass Cam, but off to the side, you know, we gonna have to have a little one-on-one. Like, come on, bro, what we doing right now? Come on, man. Come on, talk to me. Let me know something. Anyway, I digress. Let's see where we left off at. John Roberts writes, Lou, I know our situation stinks, but I am still confused why Bryce was QB1 in 2023. Leave alone the size. His arm is not great. People said he could make all the throws, but he can't. Nothing you just said in that statement is incorrect. However, if you've been at I haven't watched him throw live. I wasn't at his pro day. And trust me, the Panthers were at his pro day. They watched him make every throw, and they felt comfortable that he could make every throw. We watched him on film, and we watched him in the SEC, and he made every throw. So I beg to differ. He probably can make every throw. It just, right now, watching him, it doesn't feel like he can make every throw, right? But this is why I say you have to have patience with young players, specifically the quarterbacks. You have to have patience with them. He, to me, looks like he's struggling with timing and rhythm. It feels like the game is too fast for him right now, and he hasn't slowed it down yet. And sometimes that takes time, and it slows down for everyone at a different rate of speed. Excuse me. The game might not slow down for you until year 4. It's different for everybody. Some guys come in, and the game's never too fast for them. Day 1, they step in the league, and shit's all the same to them. It feels like college all over again. Michael Parsons said, hey, this shit just like college. I don't see no difference. And he's treating it like it's still college, like he's still at Penn State. Because he eating up NFL offensive linemen for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And when he said it, he meant it, and his actions reflect that. But for a quarterback, it's a little different. And there's a lot of adjustments that have to be made, and he hasn't made them yet, as Bryce Young. But I was a Bryce Young guy, so I can tell you why he was QB1 for me. I don't know. I can't speak for anybody else. I can tell you why he was my QB1. Because he had it. What is it? I've identified what it is. I'll be explaining that on another video at another date and time. I used to say, what is it? It's one of my favorite rock bands used to say, what is it? But he had it. I saw it against Texas on the road. We've seen it throughout his career. He had the ability to scramble, use his legs. He can make every throw. As you just said, he can't, though. He can make every throw. And, yeah, the size is an issue. But nobody likes to make size an issue because we've seen smaller quarterbacks come into the league, i.e. Kyler Murray, i.e. Drew Brees. We can keep going, Baker Mayfield, that have had success. Now, you know, they're varying degrees of success, but success nonetheless. We're not looking to marginalize quarterbacks based off of their size, unless it's a real detriment. His seems like it could be a detriment if you allow it to be. It hasn't looked good this year, I will admit. And watching him against the Saints very closely, he missed a lot of throws, and it felt like he missed a lot of those throws because he simply just wasn't accurate with the football, and I don't think he was throwing the ball where the receiver was going. He threw the ball where the receiver was at. And I just think he has to adjust. I think he'll be fine, honestly. He was QB1 for me because he played in the SEC. He won big. I thought he did Ullman-like work in his final year at Alabama with less than stellar talent. We've all looked at Alabama as the mecca of talent. Both sides of the football, receivers for days. Well, they ran out of receivers. Bryce Young's last year. They ran out. They was like, damn, y'all ain't go to the store for? Nah, man. We forgot to go to the store and get receivers. We didn't put that on the list. But shit, y'all ran out. Y'all need to go get y'all some. Bond can't be your best receiver. And he still found a way to make, like, Cameron Latu, his tight end, was probably his favorite target his last year. Like, that's how bad it was. And he figured the shit out. And he made it work. And people respected that in the SEC. It just hasn't worked for him. I haven't given up on him. And I may ultimately be wrong on Bryce Young. And he may just stink, and he may be too small, and his arm may not be strong enough. And all of the things that people are saying about him right now may ultimately be true. But it is too damn early for me to make that determination, especially when they haven't put enough talent around the kid to give him a fighting chance. Now, again, even with the talent that's there, when guys are open, he hasn't been hitting them consistently enough, and that's a problem. But again, I see a guy that is struggling to adjust and adapt, and he just needs more time. Time on task. It's not pretty right now. But when you're the number 1 overall pick, the one thing that's on your side is time. So he should be. I still think he's going to be fine, personally. Matthew, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Matthew, who writes, all these teams move to VA. Is football team next? Possibly. Remember, Virginia was always in the discussion. It's not like this was foreign, right? So let's not act like this was never a possibility. We'll see what happens. I was shocked. I'm not going to lie to you. I was shocked that the NBA and NHL teams moved because they felt like the pulse of DC with the Redskins / Commanders no longer being in DC. They felt like the pulse of the city. To move them, now you're telling me the only DC team in actual DC is the Nats? Yikes. If I'm DC now, I'm doing everything in my power to get the Commanders in DC. Because if you lose them, you got nothing. And I get it. There's a different allure to a basketball stadium or a hockey arena because you can utilize that facility 365, right? Even when the seasons that, first of all, they play seasons where a bunch of home games. The NBA has 82 games, 41 home games. It's a lot of home games, right? NHL, I don't know how many games they play. Let's just say they play 82 games too. I'm not sure how many games they play in hockey because I'm not a hockey fan. It's still 41 games of hockey at home, right? Playoff games if you make it, which the Caps have been one of the better teams in NHL over the last decade, with Alexander Ovechkin. So that's even more revenue you're generating, more people you're bringing to the stadium, facility, arena, etc. And then when the season's over, guess what? When concerts come to town, conventions, you can rent the shit out. You're still making money. You're still bringing more people. When Beyonce came, guess what they used? FedEx Field. That's the problem with the football stadium, though, is Beyonce is Beyonce. So she's selling out football stadiums. If you get a normal act, they're not selling out a football stadium. They're going to end up at, what is it? Caps One Arena or whatever the hell it's called. They're going to end up there. You can't use a football stadium 365 because it's a stadium. One, it's huge. Two, and three, weather, especially when you don't have a dome, weather permits you from utilizing it all the time. So, yeah, it's a big effing deal. I think DC is going to try to do everything it can to bring Washington. And they were already doing that before, but I think it's even more imperative now that you lost the basketball and hockey team, which is still insane to me. They're the Washington Wizards and the Washington Capitals, not the Virginia Wizards or the Virginia Capitals. It's crazy to me. Bloodshot Sports. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes? Why didn't Cole Turner get burned this year? You got to ask Eric Bieniemy that. Again, I'm not at practice. I don't know how they viewed Cole Turner. I just know him and Sam seemed to be forming a rapport in the preseason. Sam seemed to be looking for him, and he seemed to be making big plays for Sam. We got into the regular season, and it felt like Cole Turner, in his limited opportunities, was making plays for Sam. And somehow they just decided he just wasn't good enough to get on the field and even be active on Sundays. And again, I'm not at practice. He might have horrible practice habits. He might not be a good enough blocker, and they might have just decided to go in a different direction. But damn it, man. You would think we could use an infusion of athleticism at the tight end position because we just don't have any if you don't have Cole Turner, in the lineup. And they just said to hell with him. And I think he did deal with a little bit of an injury, but that's no excuse. Let's see. Cam G says it's funny how everyone had questions about CJ Stroud and now everyone acts like they were sold from day one. Not talking about you, Lou. Yeah, no, you definitely not talking about me. And but I understand where you're coming from. Because I remember when people started saying Will Levis was going to be the number 1 overall pick, and I had a whole podcast. Like, you guys got to be shitting me. And I said, the Texans better not be stupid. They better take CJ Stroud. Because I told everybody he's going to be good. Because remember, keep in mind, there was an Ohio State bias at the quarterback position. Like, a lot of people forget because CJ's been really good. Before CJ Stroud, every single Ohio State quarterback was absolute ass cheeks. You can't understate that. In the scouting community, they tell you all the time, scout the player, not the helmet. That shit is impossible to do. Because even if you're the most staunch scout and you follow the rules to the T and you scout the player, in the back of your mind, even if it's in your subconscious, you're saying, hey, he's still an Ohio State quarterback. He's still in that Ryan Day offense. He's still throwing wide-ass open receivers. Is he going to be another Dwayne Haskins? Is he going to be another Troy Smith? Is he going to be another? You just fill in the blank. Because they've all come into the league and did nothing. Right? Stroud looked different to me. And that's why I was willing to co-sign him. But there were a lot of people that had questions about CJ Stroud. That's why we were even having a conversation about Will Levis, because people weren't sold on CJ Stroud. And then they tried to bring up his Wonderlic test and all. I mean, it was crazy. The slander that CJ Stroud was catching was wild. A lot of people weren't high on him. Just like I can say this. I wasn't high on Justin Herbert. And you can go back and watch the videos. And I said it a million times. He's toolsy. He's got tools. But damn if I know what those tools are capable of. And I don't like his leadership. And he played at Oregon in a wide open offense with wide open. Like, I made every excuse for why he wouldn't be good. But I always preference everything I said with, hey, he's toolsy though, and he got shit you can't teach. And if he gets in the right situation, he could be dangerous. But I just, his temperament, because he reminded me so much of Marcus Mariota in terms of his temperament. You can't win with a dude with that kind of temperament. That was my thought process back then. So you could be wrong. Look, it's an inexact science. You're going to be wrong about guys that end up being really good. It's just a part of the game. That's how it goes. Steel City. Right. Lou, in 19, Ben got hurt. Oh, so you back on the Steelers stuff. Okay, let's do it. So I gave Tomlin a pass. Next year, we were 11-0, and Ben was in the MVP convo, and we fell apart down the stretch. Year after, I gave him a pass because Ben regressed. You were 11-0, but everybody saw that was a house of cards. That was the year that Washington ended your undefeated streak. You limped into the playoffs, and you got blitzed by the Browns at home, and you lost in wild card weekend. Everybody saw that was a house of cards. The fact that Tomlin was able to keep this shit together as long as he did, again, and COVID, I think, helped assist with that too, because it was all kinds of dysfunction. You played the Ravens on like a Tuesday or some bullshit like that. And again, you got to credit Tomlin, man. Like, I know that you're frustrated with him. And again, if you don't want him, just let him go. Let him go. Right? There's plenty of teams out here that would kill to have a Mike Tomlin. Let him go. He's got his faults. I'm not telling you he's a perfect coach. There's things that he does that probably drives you nuts. He's probably not always the best in-game manager. You wasted a couple of timeouts against the Patriots, and so when you needed him at the end of the game, you didn't have him. I'm aware he's not always the sharpest in-game, but boy, does he motivate a team like nobody's business and get them to play hard. And as a fan of a team whose coaching staff fails to get their team to be prepared week in, week out, and to play with any kind of heart or resolve, boy, I'd kill for a Mike Tomlin. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. I get it. You're frustrated. You haven't won anything of note. But when's the last time Tomlin's had a great quarterback? Not a regressing Ben Roethlisberger. When's the last time he had a great offensive coordinator? When's the last time he's had both at the same time? And I get it. Your excuse there, he hired Matt Canada. Hands up, you got me. That's on Tomlin, and I admitted that. You can't hire Matt Canada and then refuse to fire him after he's effing up year after year after year after year. I get that too. But it doesn't change the fact that despite what we've watched from the Steelers on offense year after year after year, they still managed to win 9 games. That's a credit to the coaching staff. I mean, it is what it is. And I just always remember figuring out what Martavis Bryant ended up being in the league, looking at what Le'Veon Bell ended up being in and out of the league, and then looking at what Antonio Brown turned out to be. Mike Tomlin was a damn paid babysitter. He was a babysitter. And he kept that shit together for like 5-6 years. We didn't know how dysfunctional it was in the locker room until the very bitter end when Antonio Brown finally was on Facebook Live after the game and you know, airing shit that he shouldn't have been, and they finally had to move on from his crazy ass. That's when we started to find out just how dysfunctional shit was in that locker room, and he kept that shit together. Le'Veon Bell was a head case. Martavis Bryant, head case. Antonio Brown, head case. He was babysitting children. Look, man, I know how you feel about Tomlin, but look, on the outside, it's just different, bro. You on the inside, and it's different for you. We on the outside, it's just different for us. Especially teams who don't have a coach worth a damn. It's different. Because I could go on and on about the shit that I feel about Tomlin and why I think he's a good coach. And you can tell me all the reasons why you think he's mediocre and you wouldn't wish him on your worst enemy. And we both be right. But I'm just telling you, bro, it ain't a damn thing you could tell me that would deter me from wanting Mike Tomlin. I'd be the first in line. Hey, you getting rid of him? Let me get him. I'll be the first one in line like I'm standing outside for Black Friday sales. John Wynn. Do you know any running backs in the NFL that got injured for like a year? I know Chris Carson, ex-Seahawks running back player, is one before he retires from Seattle. Yeah, there have been several running backs that have had, concussions and stuff. Javid Best was really good for the Detroit Lions, and he just, too many concussions. At some point you shut it down, right? And he's not alone. There's been several guys who, remember Chris Borland, the linebacker. Now he didn't have to shut it down because of concussions. He just said, "Hey, I don't want concussions. I'm good," and he quit. He had a hell of a rookie season, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna walk away from the game," and it was a big deal. It was a big deal at that time. I don't know if it's just strictly off of like with modern science, unless you got like something head related, you can pretty much come back from anything. Like Bo Jackson retired from football because of a hip injury. He had that same injury in today's day and age with the modern science. He'd probably come back. He'd probably come back. I don't know how effective he would be, but he'd be back. Kevin, the PRF writes, the salary guidelines and right of first refusal, i.e. the NFL draft, balances the player talent of the NFL. Should similar rules be put in place for coaching for the sake of balance? I don't know. I don't see what you're getting at. Like, how is the NFL unbalanced in a coaching respect? Because I don't feel that way. So you'd have to elaborate on that one for me, Kevin, the PRF, because I don't feel like the best teams get the best coaches necessarily. I get that if your situation is really good, you're going to attract the best young coaches, but it's just all about fit. And it's all about, like, Sean McVay wasn't like a home run hire. Everybody knew, like, it wasn't like the equivalent of, hey, Drake is out here, going to different labels and hearing their pitches as to why he should sign because he's a hot commodity and everybody knows he's finna blow. That's not what Sean McVay was doing. He didn't go interview for 15 different jobs and he was picking between 15 different clubs and he was going to go to the spot that he felt like he could win the best at. Sean McVay was young and people were hesitant to give him a job because he was so young. And the Rams took a chance on him and it worked out. So I don't know what you're getting at. You'd have to explain it to me. Because I don't feel like there's an imbalance from a coaching standpoint. Because I feel like everybody has an opportunity. Now, some jobs are worse off than others, clearly. But you can't force a coach to go somewhere that he doesn't want to be. That's the point of you having the ability to select where your next destination is. If I'm Ben Johnson and I don't want to coach in Indianapolis, I should have the right to be able to say, nah, I'm good. I'm going back to be the offensive coordinator of the Lions again because I don't want to coach in Indy. And when I'm ready to coach, if I want the Washington job, I shouldn't be forced to take the Atlanta Falcons job, or I shouldn't be forced to take the fill in the blank job, right? Because the right of first refusal, or hey, we put in a claim for Ben Johnson and we won. We got the worst record, so he needs to come here. That's crazy. If that's what you're saying, again, you'd have to explain it to me. Go Blue. Right. Coaches who don't call plays frustrate me because they pin the blame on their coordinators. When their offense struggles, people get on Kafka. When our offense struggles, people get on Kafka. Now Sirianni isn't catching heat because of Brian Johnson. That's how it goes. If you're a smart head coach, you delegate. To me, delegation is the best thing ever, but it can also be the worst, because if Brian Johnson is killing it, you're going to have to find a new offensive coordinator because he's going to get a job. If Brian Johnson isn't killing it, now you got a fall guy. Leave me alone. It's Brian Johnson. I can fire him and say, hey, he wasn't doing a good enough job. Let me take over, or let me bring in a guy that can take over, right, that I trust. So to your point, there is a almost like a built-in fall guy when you don't call your own. Like Brandon Staley, and I think that's a perfect segue, because we talked about Brandon Staley on this podcast and him getting fired and the Chargers situation. He didn't have a scapegoat. When the defense didn't work, when the defense was bad, when the defense was getting scorched, it fell on him because he's the defensive play caller. And so when the media would ask him, are you going to continue to call defensive plays? He's like, you damn right I am. I'm calling the plays defensively. I know what I'm doing. I know my plays work. And it sounded like he was throwing his players under the bus. But you definitely get more to blame when somebody else is called, when you're calling the plays versus somebody else. Journey Reed writes, I remember being like 12, always yelling at my TV because it was taboo to go for it on fourth, laughing my ass off. Crazy to see how far it's come. Are you kidding me, Journey? I was the same way. Like, the NFL was a totally different space just 8 years ago. 2015, you'd be out of your mind to go for it on 4th and 1 from your own 47 yard. Like, you're basically at midfield. Nobody would even blink. You came up short, send your punt unit out there, hope they jump off sides. But if they don't, you punt the ball. Hopefully you pin them inside their own 10-yard line and you go play defense. There was never even a thought of going for it. Once you were short, if you weren't inches away, and you, God forbid that you weren't God forbid you were on your side of the field, right? You were in your territory. You definitely weren't going for it. What? You at your own 44-yard line on 4th and inches? Nah, I got a punt, man. That's too much of a risk. Man, teams jump at the opportunity to go for it on 4th and inches from their own 44 now. Shit's crazy. Yeah, it's changed a lot. I couldn't agree with you more. Kevin the PRF writes, my sentiments exactly on tight ends. About wide receivers. Get the F out of here, Harrison Jr. fans. It's a lot of those out there, and I'm not mad at them because the dude is super talented. But I've contended that picking a wide receiver would be a luxury pick in the first round. Again, I wouldn't mind them taking a receiver in, say, the 3rd or the 4th or the 5th round. But taking a receiver in the first round feels like a luxury that we just don't have right now. Especially when you look at offenses around the league. You don't have to have a Marvin Harrison Jr. to have your offense run very efficiently. I mean, I always just look at the Lions. I look at their offense and I say, they don't have anybody remotely close to a Marvin Harrison. They don't even have a number 1 receiver on their team. Unless you consider Amon-Ra St. Brown a number 1. They don't even have a number 1. And they're getting that shit done. So we'll see. John Wynn writes, Russell Wilson, Bronco country, let's ride. More like Broncos country, let's cry. You say that, but they're one game out of first place. One game out of first place. So Russell Wilson right now is looking at you and saying, yeah, and we don't stop. Because it's 187 on the undercover, John. That's what he's saying right now. Because he feel like you hating on him. Rip 21 Meest Sean Taylor writes, wasn't everyone saying the same thing about Tua last year that they're saying about Bryce now? I don't know what the conversation surrounding Tua was last year. I know he got hurt. I think that was the big conversation around Tua last year, was how, he was injury prone. I don't know if people were saying he didn't have a big enough arm. I know they were saying it this offseason when they got Tyreek Hill, or was that last offseason? I think this is the second year of Tyreek. Yeah, it's the second year of Tyreek. I remember them saying that last year when they got, so maybe they were saying a lot of those things, because when Tyreek, I remember they were laughing at Tua, and there was a clip of him trying to throw the deep ball to Tyreek, and he was like 5-6 yards short in camp, and people were making a big deal out of it. And they could have been saying a lot of the same things with Tua, but I'm just a proponent of giving young quarterbacks an opportunity to breathe. So they might have been saying the exact same thing about Tua. John Wynn says CJ Stroud is better than Bryce Young in this year's draft in 2023. I don't understand what you're trying to say. I think everybody realizes that CJ Stroud has been better in the season. Hence, he should have been the number one pick. But again, it's still early. We don't know what Bryce Young's going to turn into. But CJ Stroud wasn't just in the conversation for the Rookie of the Year. At one point, he was in the conversation for league MVP. That's unheard of for a rookie quarterback. John Wynn says, what frustrates me is when I see NFL players on fourth down and 1 or 4th down and shorter, always punting for no reason. Just depends on where you are on the field. You can't go for it on 4th down and 1 every time because it's 4th down and 1. Because you cannot get a yard. We see it all the time. Teams not get inches, not get a yard. And you can't just turn the ball over and give points away. So all that shit matters. Great Watubi, been a member for 27 months. Would the Chargers still beat us? I think so. With Easton Stick? Nah. I think we could take them. I think we could take them. Their defense isn't the Jets. I think we could take them. We'd have to double team Khalil Mack though. He could probably present a problem for us, but I'd take us over them. Gregory Lightbody says, why are y'all so confident in Howell even though he has 14 picks? Because if you're basing your disdain for Sam or your disbelief in him off of the picks, we can discredit you right now, right? Because interceptions aren't the end all. So Peyton Manning in his first season when he threw 28 picks, Sam has 14. Peyton Manning threw 28. So Peyton Manning you would have thought he was automatically trashed in his rookie season, right? Trevor Lawrence had, at the same time we talking right now, he had 14 picks, 9 touchdowns. Sam has 18 passing touchdowns. Trevor Lawrence had 9 in his rookie season, 14 picks. So he's trash too then, right? Like you shouldn't believe in Trevor Lawrence. You know what the difference is between those two quarterbacks and Sam, and the reason why people like you, and I don't know if you fit in this conversation, I'm guessing you do, but I can't say that for certain. But you know what the difference is for people like you or people who don't believe in Sam, who want to use like interceptions or pick sixes or all kinds of stupid shit as reasons why he shouldn't be the quarterback. He's the 5th round pick. Trevor Lawrence was the number 1 overall pick. Peyton Manning was the number 1 overall pick. So those guys are going to get opportunities. They can throw 28 picks in their rookie season. Lawrence can throw, 19, 20 picks in his rookie season, and nobody blinks because he's the number 1 overall pick. He'll be fine. 5th round pick, get him out of here. That shit's trash, man. You got to come better than that. If the picks are the only thing you're going to show up with as evidence as to why Sam shouldn't be starting, I eat that shit alive. You got to come with something better. I baked interceptions and mistakes into the process of him growing as a quarterback. So you're not going to deter me with 14 picks. I'm not even going to blink. I don't even know if I blinked this entire time I've been talking to you. Shit doesn't register for me. I expected mistakes. I expected nasty games like the Bills game, like the second Giants game. I expected games like that. I baked those in. I also expected games like the Broncos game, like the Eagles, both Eagles games, like the Falcons game, like the Seahawks game. Also baked those in as well. There are more of those than there are the bad ones. I'll take my chances. Anyway, I digress. That's the last comment. I got a super. Oh no, that was a comment. I already read it. So now let's get to our final segment of the show and my money picks of the week. Let's get to it. Let's get it. So this is an easy week for picks. And remember, no more bye weeks. Full 16-game slate the rest of the way. We got Saturday football for the first time this season, which also is a sign of the beginning of the end. So there's that. We're getting close to the end of Thursday night football. We're getting close to the end of Monday night football. We have, I think, 3 weeks of those two respectively left. So without any further ado, let's jump into it. I got off to a 1-0 start. Everybody took the Raiders for the most part. You had to be trying to be special with Easton Stick starting at quarterback. You had to be special to pick the Chargers. So I'm off to a 1-0 start, needed because it's been rough for the kid this year. I'm not going to lie. So we got 3 games, triple header on Saturday. Starts out with Minnesota at Cincinnati. The Vikings are coming off of a 3-0 win in which they benched Josh Dobbs in favor of Nick Mullins. They've since promoted Mullins to starting quarterback, taken their 5th-round pick quarterback, Jaron Hall, made him the 2nd-string quarterback, and have made Josh Dobbs the 3rd-string emergency quarterback. So my have times changed and the mighty fallen, right? The Josh Dobbs story was just a phenomenon just a month ago. The NFL had him pinned to their YouTube channel's banner, right? It was all Josh Dobbs. Yeah, about that. Anyway, the Vikings, I still don't know how they're 7-6. My guy Black Al B was like, hey, we a top 5 defense and we gritty and we tough. That's why. Touche. I don't know if that's going to get you by this game. Jake Browning is playing at a high enough level. There's a ton of talent on that Bengals team, and they're at home in the jungle. I like my chances with Cincinnati. Give me the Bengals to continue to find a way to get it done with Jake Browning under center as they beat the Minnesota Vikings. Steelers at the Indianapolis Colts. It's been a tumultuous 2 weeks for the Pittsburgh Steelers, having lost to a then 2-win Arizona Cardinals team and then a 2-win New England Patriots team. That's brutal. 2 weeks consecutively in a 5-day span. It's rough. Everybody's counting the Steelers out. Mitchell Trubisky will be starting yet again. So everybody's assuming that they're going to lose to the Indianapolis Colts, and they score points. Not I. I got Pittsburgh going to Indianapolis, getting to Gardner Minshew, turning him over, making him uncomfortable, stopping the run, and winning a low-scoring affair on the road in Indy. Give me the Pittsburgh Steelers to take down Indiana. I just don't think Indianapolis is a playoff team. And if I believe that, then I can't be giving them dubs down the stretch. So give me the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know how. Give me the Steelers on the road. Giants, or excuse me, and then finally the nightcap on Saturday. Denver Broncos at the Detroit Lions. Lions are struggling. And the Broncos are surging at the right time. And I look at Detroit, and I still think that's a good football team. They're just not accustomed to being where they are. It's almost like gaining stardom and having to realize what that means and how to adjust and adapt to being famous and people wanting your autograph, and you go into a restaurant and you can't sit down and eat your food like a normal person because people keep coming up to your table. Like, you have to learn how to adjust to being a famous person. It's different from being like a star and then being famous. And I think the Lions are figuring that out. Like, bro, every week we're getting the other team's best. Yeah, bro, you were 9-3, of course. So they're adjusting, they're adapting, they're going to be okay. Is what I'm trying to what I'm trying to say. I don't know what I was trying to say, but this is what I'm trying to say. They're going to be okay. And the Broncos, look, they're 7-6. They're making a push for the AFC West crown, and it's all crazy and wow. And I'm not buying it. The Broncos are getting turnovers. They're playing timely defense. They play the type of football that would give the Detroit Lions trouble. But I also feel like the Lions are at a point, almost like a crossroads of their season, where they got to make a decision. Who are we? What do we stand for? I think they start to make that statement in this particular game. And they beat the Denver Broncos at home and start to right the ship. Give me Detroit at home. Giants at the Saints. Now we're on the Sunday games. Giants are on a 3-game heater. They're 5-8. They're back in the playoff chase. They're feeling good. It's DeVito mania. Giants fans are taking the shit too far. Now I got to burst their bubble because it was cute. I initially did this out of spite to make sure that they didn't end up with a top flight quarterback. And now they're running with it. And I got bad dogs saying, hey, this is what the Lions did last year. We remember when they finished up the season at 9-8 and just missed the play. Like, whoa. You're ass. Okay. Tommy DeVito is I won't call him ass. He's Tommy DeVito, though. Hey, wait a minute. What are we doing? Wait a minute. What are we doing right now? Are you comparing yourselves to the Lions last year? Is that what we're doing? No way you're doing that. Are you really doing that? That's what we're doing. Okay. I got to stop this shit now because now you're getting out of control. Now you're getting too big for your britches. Now you starting to you talking out of turn now. So now I gotta jump up and bite you because it was fun. It was cute. I was enjoying it. I was from afar. I was like, hey, this is fun, man. Hey, Tommy, all that shit. Now, okay, now the shit's dead. Now you're pissing me off because you going too far with it now. So now I got to jump up and bite you. The Saints are so ass that you should beat them. I mean it. I really mean it. Oh no, baby. I really mean it. The Saints are ass. You should beat them. But this is the game where you realize again. So you realize. I just made that up. Blame it on the alcohol. Blame it on the alcohol. This is the game where you are reminded. Oh shit, we the Giants. Give me the Saints at home. Don't ask me why. Don't ask me how. Just give me the Saints at home. Bears at Browns. Similar situation with the Bears. They're surging at the right time. They almost are on the cusp of saving their head coach's job. In addition, they're close to saving their starting quarterback's job, Justin Fields, because had the shit continued to go in the direction it was going, he was definitely traded. I still think he could get traded, but it's not as definite right now. As a matter of fact, who knows what the hell's going to happen here? They're getting close to the playoffs. Bears fans are starting to talk reckless. Let's calm them down a little bit. Let's bring them down a notch. Let's bring them down a notch. Just a taste. Just a little bit. Browns defensively are getting healthier. They're still banged up, but they're getting Myles Garrett back. That's a huge one, right? The last time Justin Fields went to Cleveland and played against the Browns, I think he had like -9 yards passing, and he was sacked like 7 or 8, 9 times. Ouch. I just made that up. I don't know what he had. It was maybe 40 yards total, sacked 9 times. It was ugly. Whatever it was, that's nasty. I know it was his rookie season. It was bad. Well, he's grown since then. But I just think the Browns are better. I think the defense is good. I think Joe Flacco's playing well. And I think the Browns are going to win. Simple as that. Give me the Browns at home. Falcons at Panthers. Look at me. Do I even need to do this? Give me the Falcons, man. Stop playing with me. Bucks at Packers. This is a big one because while the Bucks right now are currently leading the NFC South, they're also tied with Atlanta and New Orleans at 6 and 7. So they're not like actually leading. They're just holding on to the title right now. So in saying that, this could be a playoff game for all intents and purposes because all 3 of those teams are fighting for a wild card. If they don't win the division, they're like, hey, we can still get in as a wild card. You know what Green Bay record is? 6 and 7. You know what Tampa Bay's record is? 6 and 7. This could prove to be an elimination game, and that's how I'm treating it. Man, the Bucks are scrappy. Boy, they on some scrappy do shit. They find ways, boy, don't they? I don't trust this Packers team. They're young, but I made a declaration earlier this season. I said, I'm not picking the Packers no more. I'm done with them. They let me down too many times. And then I didn't pick them, and they won 3 weeks in a row. And then the 4th week was the Giants, and I picked them, but I said they were going to lose. So I haven't really tested my theory yet because I picked them, but I didn't expect them to win. I'm going to test it this week. Yeah, I'm a bitch. I ain't even going to front. I've been a bitch this year, a baby back bitch. I'm not afraid to admit. I tell you, when I'm wrong, I'll be the first to tell you I'm wrong. I don't need anybody else to tell me I'm wrong. I've been a bitch this year. I'm bitching up right now. I'm going to take the Packers in this game over the Bucks. I still don't trust these bastards, but I'm going to put my theory to the test. They lose this game, the Packers. I'm not picking them another game. I don't give a shit if I know they're going to win. I ain't picking their ass no more. They better win this goddamn game at home. They're better than the Buccaneers. But if they let Baker Mayfield and that scrappy-ass Bucs team come in there and water their ass down to a 20-17 type game and let them beat them, I'm done with they stinking ass. They're young, too. I could see them playing down to the Buccaneers level and losing. And I say that like they're not both 6 and 7 teams, but they're more talented than Tampa. And they're at home. Give me Green Bay reluctantly in this game. Jets at the Dolphins. What Zach Wilson did last week was cool. It was cute. Good for him. Happy that he was able to do that. I'm always looking for guys like him who have been written off to succeed, because I was a Zach Wilson fan coming out of BYU. Don't love his attitude. Don't love how he goes about his business, but seems to be in a much better headspace this year. The results haven't been what they, desired them to be. But he wasn't supposed to be playing. Let's call a spade a spade. He wasn't supposed to be in the lineup. But whatever the case may be, that was a one-off. It was wet. It was nasty. Houston was in a tough spot. Do it again. Do it again. I double dog dare you. Do it again. A Dolphins fan told me that the Dolphins collapse in December. This is what they do. Okay? If you're right, then you'll lose this game. I'm going to put that theory to test because I'm picking the Dolphins. The Jets still stink. Now, I will say Tyreek Hill being banged up and potentially not playing. Ooh, that's scary. That's some scary shit, man. Against that Jets defense, that's some scary shit. I can see Tua bitching up, throwing a couple picks and losing that game, but give me the Dolphins to take care of business. I ain't saying it's going to be pretty, but I'm saying it's going to be a gritty dub for the Dolphins. I'll take them at home. Chiefs, Patriots. Hey, what Bailey Zappi did on Thursday, commendable. I respect the hell out of that shit. Do it against the Chiefs. Do it again. They pissed off. They've been the talk of all the, major networks and Mahomes going, viral with his rant and all of that good. Look, they know what it is. They're 8-5. They know they're struggling. They know that they got a great opportunity to run the table the rest of the way, end up 12-5, and just seeing where the chips fall. They play backup quarterbacks in each of their final 4 games, and it starts here with Bailey Zappi, and they're going to take full advantage of it. Give me the Kansas City Chiefs on the road. Houston at Tennessee. This is a fun one because Houston is going to be without C.J. Stroud. We talked about the concussion. He hasn't practiced all week. He's going to be out of this game. We knew that already, or at least I was anticipating him being out. Plus, the Titans are at home. They play their best football at home. And most importantly, the Titans are rolling out the Love Ya Blues from the 1970s with Earl Campbell and Pastini and all of those guys. You can't lose in that shit. Remember what they did to the Falcons when Will Levis made his first start in those Love Ya Blues? What? They can't lose. When you wearing crispy jerseys, you ain't supposed to lose. Give me the the Tennessee Titans at home to take care of the Houston Texans. Davis Mills is ass. We already figured that out. 49ers at the Cardinals. Family business. You know how the family do it. This is going to be a lot closer than people think. Arizona coming off of a bye. They're going to fight their asses off. They're just not good enough. But that's not going to stop them from giving the 49ers the fight of their life. This will be a close ball game, a one-score game in the fourth quarter before the 49ers pull away and win. Give me the 49ers on the road at Arizona to beat the Cardinals. Washington at the Rams. I've already given the prediction for this on my show. The Commanders, I think, are finally going to be competitive. Their first competitive game, start to finish, since the loss at Seattle in Week 10. I think they're going to come out establish the short passing game, give themselves a chance. But ultimately, the defense is going to prove to be too much ass, cheeks, if you will. And the Rams are going to get it done. Give me the Rams at home to take care of the Commanders, get back to 500 on the season, and try to make a playoff push. Cowboys at the Bills. This is the biggest game of the week for me. This is the big one because Boss Man is talking shit. Cowboys fans are on social media being insufferable, and they really, truly believe that this is their time. And if I were them, I would too, right? Can't knock the hustle. I'm just here to knock you off your damn perch. That's all. You haven't beaten anybody of note on the road this season. All your road victories are against lesser opponents, under 500, garbage can juice. When you have played on the road, you've been against good teams, and I consider the Bills a good team, despite their 7-6 record. You've been awful, right? San Francisco got your brains bashed in. Philadelphia had opportunities, could have won that game, right? But you lost because that's who you are on the road against good teams. I don't see that being any different here against Buffalo. I don't think you get blown out of this game, but I do think you lose this football game. And I think I've already said this. Buffalo is going to make it to the AFC Championship game. They can't make it to the AFC Championship game if they don't make the playoffs. They got to make the playoffs first. You want to make the playoffs? You had to beat Kansas City. Check. You want to make the playoffs? Got to beat Dallas. Check. That's what we're looking to do, is get that check mark in that box this Sunday. I think they will. I think Cowboys, they're going to try to get after Josh Allen. I think they're going to have Josh Allen problems like the Eagles did. And I get it. They're not the Eagles defensively. Noted. I still think you're going to struggle with Josh Allen. And it could be Josh Allen, the passer or the runner. That's why he's dangerous. He's equally good at both. Give me the Bills. Cold, wet, nasty, December weather, all of that stuff. The Cowboys want to be inside, clean, and dry, and all of the stuff that they're afforded at home. They're not going to have any of that at their disposal. They don't strike me as a nasty, physical, wet weather type of team. They need to be inside where it's nice and climate controlled. Give me Buffalo. Baltimore at Jacksonville, Sunday Night Football. I think Jacksonville has a shot to win this game. Now, they're banged up. Trevor Lawrence is banged up, but he's proven to us that he's a tough guy. So I'm not even going to worry about him. Not having Christian Kirk sucks, but I think they're going to be competitive in this game. But I think Baltimore's too much for them. And I like the Ravens. As long as Lamar stays healthy, and I'm always late season, I'm always curious if Lamar's going to hold it down, because this is right around the time Lamar gets hurt every year. So I'm every time he runs or he gets hit, I hold my breath this time of the year, because we never know which one is the one, right? Either way, give me the Ravens on the road, take care of the Jacksonville Jaguars in week number 15 on Sunday Night Football. And then you got Monday Night Football, Eagles at the Seahawks. And this is a great game because Philadelphia is struggling right now. So is Seattle. Seattle's got a distinct home field advantage. Eagles are a team that has struggled, not necessarily struggled on the road per se, but they struggle against offenses that can move and score the football. We saw what Geno Smith was able to do against a vaunted Dallas Cowboys defense on the road. Imagine what he could do against this Eagles defense at home. That said, Geno is coming off of an injury. I expect him to play on Monday night. How effective will he be? Can that offensive line keep him upright, et cetera, et cetera? At the end of the day, my dad is confident. Boss Man is like, Eagles are losing this game. I think he's talking out of trying to speak it into existence because he wants them to lose versus him actually fully in his heart of hearts believing that they're going to lose. The Eagles are going to win this game. They're going to run the table. I don't see them losing another game. If they do lose another game, this is the one. This is the one. But I don't think they're going to lose another game. Give me the Eagles at San CenturyLink, or what's the name of that field now? Is it Century? I don't know what the hell that field is called. Give me the Eagles on the road in Seattle to take down the Seahawks in what will be a charged up, juiced up environment. Always good to see Seattle on a Monday night, Sunday night, whatever, Thursday. Always good to see them at home on a primetime stage. Their fans know how to show up and show out. Still got the Eagles getting it done, though. So those are my picks. And that is the show. 2 hours flat, just like that. When I move, you move, just like that. That was fun. And I'm proud of myself. I still got a quarter of a glass left. I didn't think I would. But I'm nice like that. I did start with almost like a full glass, though. So anyway, I digress. I appreciate y'all kicking it with the kid tonight on a Friday. Y'all could have been doing anything, watching anything, out and about, but you was here kicking it with me, and I appreciate that. So that doesn't go overlooked. I appreciate y'all. Anyway, I digress. Y'all get out of here. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Still Friday on the East Coast. Enjoy the rest of your Friday night. I'll see you guys tomorrow. We got action tomorrow, so I'll be back like cook crack. I'll see you for the doubleheader or the tripleheader tomorrow, rather. And we'll see whether it's 2 streams or 1. But we'll figure it out. Either way, you'll see me at some point tomorrow. Enjoy the weekend. I'll see you guys then. God bless and good night.